heading back east, and we couldn't miss visiting with our family in Kansas City. We stopped by around the time of Art's birthday to see Andrew and Alicia's new house and to visit with Brian's family, who were there at the same time. Look at this picture of Art and Brian. Can you tell they're related?
You have to blow the candles out? They're already out.
No, they aren't.
Gonna blow them out?
Yes, you blow them out. That was easy.
Hey, hold it up there. I want to get a still shot.
No.
You've never heard this?
Even sooner, and now it's even sooner. This day will soon be at an end, and now it's even sooner, and now it's sooner still.
I'm set.
Than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're even older, and now you're even older. You're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older, and now you're older still.
How long does it go on?
That's the
That's
end.
it. Okay.
While we were in Kansas City, we got to visit the school where Alicia teaches. It's called Providence School of the Arts. It's an old public school that is now run as a magnet-type school, as a charitable institution. The principal here showed us around, and Alicia showed us around. This is their library and some of their classrooms. They have a special curriculum that's based on the arts, and it's very creative. And this is Alicia's classroom. We thoroughly enjoyed our tour. The family also took us on a tour of the Kansas City area, starting with the beautiful old train station in downtown, and then some other areas such as this art museum, where we saw this metal tree, as well as those big shuttlecocks. But the highlight for me was the Community Christian Church, designed by, guess who? Frank Lloyd Wright. It was dedicated in 1942, and even though a lot of his preferences were not allowed, but the city gave him a lot of trouble. It was built out of a lightweight concrete called gunite, sprayed in over steel mesh, and a lot of the construction of the building is made of this textured material. It's one of only 10 Frank Lloyd Wright churches across the country. Like I said, it didn't turn out the way he wanted it, but it was still a very interesting building to visit. One of the last things we did with our family was to plant a letterbox in one of the local parks, and then we said goodbye and headed down the road. Every day when we're traveling, we make it a point to walk for at least a half an hour, and we stopped in this little town of Chanute, Kansas, just to have our walk, and were surprised to find a piece of history there. We found out that Chanute, Kansas is named for Octave Chanute, who was born in Paris in 1832, came to the U.S. as a child, and even with no engineering education, he would become one of the foremost engineers of the 19th century. Railroads, bridges, constructions, and aviation, especially aviation. He was a mentor of the Wright brothers. They worked closely together. And in honor of Chanute, this glider, the Octave Chanute glider replica, is part of a little memorial park right there in the center of town. Wilbur Wright said of Chanute, if he had not lived, the entire history of progress in flying would have been other than it has been. After leaving Chanute, we headed down to Independence to see Little House on the Prairie. We're here at the Little House on the Prairie Museum, just outside of Independence, Kansas. And I think that little log cabin is a reproduction of what their house would have been like. And I think the White House is the office and store. So we're going to go see what we can see. The farmhouse on the property was built by the later owners of the property, and it contains a lot of interesting things from the life and writings of Laura Ingalls Wilder, including some of the things that you would take on a trip west, some of the things she may have owned. There's a reproduction cabin on the property, and inside it's furnished much the way that the Ingalls might have had their property furnished. There's also a post office that was moved there from Wayside, Kansas, and a school, Sunnyside School. And although none of these buildings are original, they are very special to the people of this community who for generations have lived in this area, and they are from the time that the Wilders would have lived there. The only original thing on the property is this well, which Charles Ingalls helped to dig. In fact, it was this well that helped them determine that this was the property where the Ingalls had lived. I don't know if they had an Osage orange tree or not, but we enjoyed every minute there. Tomorrow we'll be going to Oklahoma.